All right, so here's this week's weekend preview. Got a lot of good action, both at Del Mar and Saratoga, even a little at West Virginia, which is now no longer under the purview of HISA. I'm sure there'll be a huge difference in the racing and the jockeying this Saturday at West Virginia at Mountaineer when they have the West Virginia Derby and the Grade 3 West Virginia Governor Stakes and a bunch of other stakes named after government officials for some reason in West Virginia. But the big race that we're all going to have our eyes on, I'm going to do a Better Things later today previewing it with my new Breeders' Cup sponsorship, is the Whitney, the $1 million Whitney. It's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And it's a race we always look forward to every year. To me, it's pretty clearly the second most important race of the meet at Saratoga. And I think arguably one of, if not the best non-Breeders' Cup handicap division race every single year. I think it's probable that we're only going to get 5 or 6 horses, but I think we're going to get a really star-studded field, headed, of course, by Life is Good and Olympiad. We're waiting for these two to go at it. Life is Good, obviously, is one of the most brilliant horses we've seen, not just this year, but in several years. But Olympiad is more proven, even though Life is Good had that race in the Pegasus. I do think that Olympiad is a better two-turn horse. I think he's going to give him a real run for his money. Obviously, we don't have the PPs yet, but a lot is going to be determined based on how loose Life is Good gets on the lead, because I could easily see him pulling a Knicks Go last year and just popping out to the front, coming a little bit wide off the turn and finishing off strong in the stretch. I do think it's a better field this year than last year in the Whitney. We might also have American Revolution, who's another nice Todd Pletcher horse, who was second to Olympiad, and the Stephen Foster, as well as Hot Rod Charlie, who was upset last out at Monmouth, but is obviously still a very nice 4-year-old. Happy Zaver and Zoomer for Mark Cassio, the other ones that I'm seeing on the probables. A couple other races to talk about, but let's get some thoughts on the Whitney from Bill and John.
Yeah, I mean, one of the themes of the Saratoga meet and NYRA racing in general is these small fields and stakes races. But you know what? If you have a small field, it makes up a big difference, and it makes things so much more palatable if you have all these big stars in these races, and that's what we're getting here. Life is Good will be the favorite. Will you agree, Joe? Life is Good will be the favorite over Olympiad? Yes. Okay, yeah, he'll be the favorite in there, but I'm more interested in what Olympiad does, because he's the horse more so than anybody else in here where we're going to find out something about him. And as great as he has been, and he has been very good, he's never won a Grade 1 race, and he's only run in one Grade 1 his entire career, which is the Cigar Mile last year, where he ran 4th. So, Bill Mott's putting him in the spot where he belongs, and he's going to get a test. And, come late Saturday afternoon, early evening, we're going to have a lot of questions answered about him, and, maybe some questions answered as well about Life is Good, because, as good as he's been, this is the best field he's ever faced. Even though he beat Knicks Go in the Pegasus, I think the overall depth of this field probably tops the Pegasus. So it's going to be a really exciting race. Hot Rod Charlie is interesting to me too. I mean, this is a horse that's always kind of flown under the radar, and, it's hard to get excited about a horse that got beaten in the Grade 3 Salvator Mile at Monmouth, but he's a better horse than that. I'm sure that Doug O'Neill didn't have him all cranked up for that. But yeah, it should be a really, really good race. And all along, I think we've been asking the question, how good is Olympiad? We're going to get an answer.
Yeah, how good is this race potentially from a field standpoint, that we're talking about Hot Rod Charlie, who all he did was he's made $5 million and basically has danced every dance. He's the 4th horse we're talking about in a 6-horse field, a projected 6-horse field. That's how good of an overall group this is. All the current probables in the race, their last race either finished 1st or 2nd. So they're all coming in. Not only are they good horses, really good horses, but they're all coming in on an upswing where either they finished 1st or 2nd in their respective previous race. That's why you have these, races like this. This is a legitimate Grade 1. This is a race that, that we have on our calendar that every year, people are pointing towards, not only because of the prestige and stature of the Whitney itself and the fact that it's a Grade 1 at Saratoga, but it's a win you're in. I mean, if you win this race, it doesn't matter what you do from now until November. You are automatically given a berth in the Breeders' Cup Classic in the richest race here in the States. So to me, this is going to be a small field, but a very powerful field, top to bottom. And it's going to be a great betting race, even though it's only 6 horses. And Joe, I know you're going to talk about this in your show, so we'll cross pollinate, a little bit about that. But I'd be interested to see the show and listen to what you're going to say about Hot Rod Charlie, Olympiad, Life is Good, American Revolution. And then, oh, by the way, Pletcher also has Happy Saver, who finished second in the Met Mile, and Zoomer, who, is going to be the long shot in the race, but, certainly is an interesting claim by Gary Barber and trained by Hall of Famer Mark Casse. So it is top to bottom going to be a really interesting race to handicap and a really interesting race to watch.
Well, and like we were saying before, I think we're going to have more answers after this race about the Horse of the Year discussion. And Olympiad he's been on the streak, but he doesn't have that grade 1 win. He needs that grade 1 win, I think, to get onto the podium for Horse of the Year, especially if he beats Life is Good, who I think a lot of people consider, maybe other than Flightline, pound for pound, the best horse in the country. And of course, Life is Good does have the grade 1 win from the Pegasus, but then he disappointed a little bit in the Dubai World Cup, and then won a grade 2 last time out. So there's still work to be done for everybody in this race, especially the top contenders, to try to, get into that discussion for the top older male or Horse of the Year. But that's not the only grade 1 race at Saratoga this Saturday. We want to mention also the Saratoga Derby, which is a race that's near and dear to John's heart, with Thread of Blue having won it a couple of years ago. So looks like we're going to have an 8 or 9 horse field in there. Annapolis for Todd Pletcher is really interesting. I think he might be the best 3-year-old turf horse in the country. Classic Causeway, after his upset win in the Belmont Derby, is going to run back in there. Emmanuel, theoretically, is going to run this time and maybe be a fly in the ointment for Classic Causeway. Of course, my boy Cy Dog for Graham Motion is going to be in there too. We have the Saratoga Oaks on Sunday, but we also have the Test Stakes, the grade 1 Longines Test this Saturday, which is obviously a pretty classic 3-year-old filly sprint race that it's, to me, the Test is one of those races that stamps who the best 3-year-old filly is in the country at a mile or shorter. And we're going to have a good field. We've got Tarabi, who won on opening weekend for Cherie DeVoe, Hot Peppers, who's become a nice horse for Rudy Rodriguez, a private purchase, I believe, Matarea, who I think is that horse right now, who's the standard bearer in that 3-year-old filly sprint division for Brad Cox. A couple other nice horses in there as well. So we've got a lot to look forward to. Also, the Glens Falls, More Like Goddess, who we all extolled last year as a really, really nice turf filly marathoner. She's going to defend her title in the Glens Falls. We also have the Clement Hirsch, which is a grade 1, also a Breeders' Cup winning year in on Saturday at Del Mar. And then Sunday, like I said, we got the Saratoga Oaks. We also have the Adirondack Stakes. We also have the La Jolla for 3-year-old turf horses at Del Mar. So a lot of good action this weekend, but I think all eyes are going to be on the Whitney. It's going to be the type of race you set an alarm for if you're out at the beach or something. I want to watch the Whitney live because there's going to be a lot of fallout from that in terms of who we analyze as the top of those handicapping and handicapping older male and Horse of the Year divisions for the rest of the year. Any other thoughts, guys, on any other races from this weekend?
Yeah, I do, just on one more race, and that's the Grade 2 Hall of Fame for the 3-year-olds that are going to run a mile on the inner turf course at Saratoga. In that race, you have Witt, who I think is maybe avoiding Jack Christopher and Jackie's Warrior a little bit in the sprints and trying not only the turf for the first time, but also going around 2 turns for the first time. You have Wow What a Summer, who won the Grade 2 Penn Mile at 80-1. A couple races ago, and he's in this race. Stolen Base, who won the American Turf, Grade 2, and then on the outside is the outside, not outside looking in, but the outside post position is Tiz the Bomb, who's returning to the turf after trying to make it in the Derby campaign and run on the Poly and run in the Kentucky Derby. And oh, by the way, all he's done is run the turf 4 times. He's got 2 wins in a second, including the Grade 2 Bourbon. So, to me, that's going to be an interesting betting race also, because you have, 9 entries, 66 career starts between, all 9 entries, but only one of them has ever set foot on the turf at Saratoga. So they're all trying something new, which is going to be really interesting to see just how this all plays out.
Thanks to John for bringing that up, because there are two really interesting races on Friday, two great stakes races, the Hall of Fame. Obviously, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony is Friday morning. If you're there, if you're in Saratoga, go check it out. Tom Durkin is going to be the MC. That alone is worth the price of admission, which I believe is $0. So that's you can't beat that. Go to the Hall of Fame and the Facing Tip Sales Pavilion for free and listen to Tom Durkin induct some people into the Hall of Fame. But also in the Troy Stakes, the Grade 3 Troy is on Friday. We have the return of Golden Pal, who is obviously the best turf sprinter in America. He was not good in the King's Stand, obviously, but I think a lot of that was circumstantial. He broke slowly, had to rush up on the pace, and just, for whatever reason, I know he was second in the Norfolk as a 2-year-old. He just seems to like the American turf courses better than the European turf courses, because he wasn't very good in the Wooten Bassett, Nunthorpe last year at York either. But in a stateside, he is 6 for 7. His only loss in America came in his debut when he was on the dirt. He's 6 for 6 in America on turf. Tough to be better than that. And I think we're going to be looking for kind of a reprisal of his quick call win last year, which, that was his seasonal debut. This is his third start of the year, but he's coming back to America. So another chance for him to reestablish himself as what he is, which is the best turf sprinter we have on this continent. Friday, Hall of Fame, Troy. Saturday, Whitney Day at Saratoga, and also the Clement Hirsch. And then Sunday, we've got the Saratoga Oaks. So big, nice 3-day weekend of racing. We'll break it down all next week, obviously, here on the Writers Room.